Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Hurrdat Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and when I heard there was a new New York-style pizza joint coming to the Interrail Food Hall in early April, I was excited. And then I heard who was going to be opening it and running it, and my expectation levels jumped even higher. And then I had the pizza, and I was like, yes, this place is rocking it. This is exactly what I wanted. And I had to meet the owner and get the story behind this place today. This is Sam Laughlin, a.k.a. Tiny, the owner of Tiny's Pizza Joint. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you. Nice seeing you today. Always a pleasure to see Dan in the town, around the restaurants and things like that. I've seen you around town a couple of times, so it's always nice to sit down and have a conversation with you.
This is, yes, I've seen you at Hurrdat, oh my gosh, the Hunger Block, obviously at Tiny's now. I went to your pop-up a couple years ago, but we've never gotten a chance to actually like sit down and have a conversation. So
this is our first.
I've very much been looking forward to this today. So there are so many places where someone can go and get pizza in Omaha. So many different styles, so many different, really just types of cuisine. When you look at Tiny's and what you were trying to establish, the niche that you were trying to put yourself into in the marketplace, what do you think makes Tiny's stand out?
The thing that I think that makes Tiny stand out a little bit more than others, because again, like you said, there's a lot of pizza around town, a lot of great pizza at that. I would say that we like to use local ingredients, really pump that, and really go headstrong with our community and bring in those ingredients, those very specific, like the honey on the hot grill or the mushrooms that we use at Flavor Country Farms. We like to use the local ingredients, and then also just like the environment. Like when you walk into Tiny's, and I know it's in the food hall, so it's kind of bustling, it's busy, everyone's doing their thing, getting in and out with slices of pizza or other restaurants as well in there, but just like kind of bringing that excellence of who we are and what we want to portray as a restaurant in that food hall, kind of set us aside and make sure your day is going great.
Perfect.
Hopefully we could bring something amazing to you, not only with pizza.
Perfect. And just want to mention, in case anyone's listening to this during the episode and they're just like, man, where is this place? I need to go get it. We mentioned it, but I want to just highlight it. Inside the Interrail Food Hall in Exarban, there's, I think, 10 vendors inside there. Yep. So it's just a great place to go with the family, with a group of friends. Anybody can go get whatever they want, but they should be going and getting pizza. Why New York style? Of all the different styles of pizza, Neapolitan, deep dish, Detroit, Sicilian, grandma, I could list off so many more. Why New York style?
So that was my favorite. Honestly, I've tried a lot of different pizza. I've been to Chicago, did the deep dish. I've done other Detroit style pizzas. I've had them, and they just really never connected with me like how New York style pizza. Going down to being at Hurrdat, I used to stop at Virtuoso's all the time, and that was one of my favorite places. It's amazing pizza, the cut pepperonis, the cheese, the thin slices, everything about it was just amazing, and I kind of got inspired by that as well. Like I've worked at Via Farina as well and did the Neapolitan, and I loved working in the brick oven, and it kind of New York kind of gives you that same exact feeling of working in that oven. You don't get the pretty aesthetic of the dome oven, but you do still get a beautiful oven, and you get to work with it, and you get to time it in, and you get to play with it. And so like New York style is really just about, messing with the doughs and the different ingredients as well. It's kind of, it's very hard to work with. It's very, especially with the sourdough that we have, it's very intricate. It's very temperament. Like it's insane. Like the temperatures change, humidity changes, and working with dough in that sense, anyways, is just hard. But I feel like New York just kind of grabbed my attention with the thin slices, the crust on it. It was just amazing, especially being at Virtuoso's. Like that gave me the big inspiration to do New York style pizza.
And for those who don't know, Hurrdat, where you worked, and Virtuoso they're not right next to each other. They're one or two bays down in Benson. Like, there's a lot of crossover there. So, yeah, I'm sure you had a chance to have a lot of conversations with David Lasoy, the owner of Virtuoso. And I know that you consulted with him as you were coming up with this concept and putting it together. What were some of you just talked about dough is really hard. Any kind of dough is hard, but you were mentioning, the distinct complications with New York style pizza dough. To have access to a guy like that who is an expert in New York style pizza, I imagine was just invaluable. What are some of the most important things you feel like you learned from him?
By the way, David is an amazing person.
Love that guy.
Yeah, he is a character, and it's so fun to hang out with him all the time. But he really helped us line up our systems. He helped us line up our ovens and the different kind of technology that we should be using and what kind of makes sense in this limited space that we do have in the food hall was priceless. His knowledge about pizza and New York style pizza in the industry is invaluable, and to have him at the stall to be able to help me out, to be able to kind of streamline the process, especially being in such a smaller space, made things 10 times easier. It was amazing. Honestly, having him in there I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. It was nice.
Now, it's interesting to me because several of the concepts that you've worked at in the past, even when we're talking about Via Farina, yes, there's pizza offered there, but it's still pretty high end. And you're just coming out and you're doing New York slices for, $6 or $7. I don't want to do the whole high-end, low-end thing, but it's just a completely different service atmosphere, serving 1,000%. Slices of pizza in a food hall versus serving 5-course tasting menus at Au Courant. What made you want to go in this direction as I'm sure you've spent years thinking about what might my concept look like? How did you settle on this?
So I started recently working with Noddle Hospitalities, and that's the team I'm working with right now that really kind of drove it home. I like the 5-course tasting, high-end, fine dining, and that's amazing. And I think that we bring that aspect to the food hall as well. And through Noddle Hospitality, that's what we strive to do, is to make it an experience like an Au Courant or something of that esque, but also giving a quality product that anyone can come in and grab a slice for lunch and come in and grab a whole pie for the day or the night at Sonny's and just hang out with the fam and eat a great slice of pizza. That was the whole experience, was making it great quality, but also friendly enough for anyone to come in and grab a bite. You know what I mean? And so that's why I think it was a lot easier, but there are still some complications of coming from that mindset of working with fine dining and the best of the best ingredients and, making these great experiences happen. And I think it translated well. And there's still some complications in that as well. You know what I mean? Just kind of the fast pace. Everything's moving so quickly. And at some of these fine dining places, you have a little bit more time to kind of settle in and get your spot. But with this, it's a little bit quicker for sure.
Was that an adjustment for you? Obviously you still have ticket times. You got to get food out at some of these places, but at the food hall, especially because you're out and everyone can see you, you got to be on your stuff and you got to be getting food out fast. What was that like for you making that adjustment?
So it wasn't that hard because at Via Farina, they have the open kitchen and I was making pizzas there at the same pace, kind of not as quick because we have the slices, but like you said, you're in front of an audience basically, and you have to be able to perform and do what you got to do at the stall. So it was kind of similar to that. I would say just seeing the customers so quickly. You only have 2 minutes to conversate and kind of get the atmosphere and get the experience that you want to and deliver that to the customer. And so that was, I guess, the biggest change for me was how quick the interaction was and what impression can I leave on them as well.
You mentioned you're doing sourdough pizza crust. Why sourdough?
Sourdough. So traditionally, you would use a yeast for your dough process. For me, I feel like that just kind of makes the pizza a little bit heavier for your stomach. And so I wanted to make a slice that you could eat 1, 2, 3 slices and still be okay. New York style is known for their big slices, and I didn't want it to be too heavy to where you eat one piece and then you're done. I wanted you to be able to taste it, eat it, and then come back for more if you would like at that price point as well.
I think the first time I came, I started off with 2 slices. I came back and got a 3rd slice. And then, like, I was the pizza was delicious, so I just wanted to eat more. But also, it was so easily digestible that I actually got another slice to go. And I felt like a monster, but I was like, I don't even care. This is delicious, and I want to eat more of it. So I think that just kind of speaks to what you were talking about. And I love how crispy the crust gets. Like, it has such good structure that it's got a little bit of flop to it, but not really much. It's pretty structurally, like, it has a lot of integrity. That's what I was looking to say. Yeah. How do you achieve that?
So it's honestly the hydration and then the like you said, the sourdough structure. So sourdough is known to get that crispy outside, but that doughy inside that everyone loves. And that's another reason why we decided to go with strictly sourdough. And sourdough, again, in that crust, especially on the edge of the pizza, you get that spring back. You get the crunch from the initial like pinch, and then it kind of springs back, and it gives you that kind of doughy feel. And especially when it's topped with that garlic butter and Parmesan on the crust, it's like your own little breadstick at the end. So
tell me about that. Like, where'd that idea come from? Because honestly, some of my favorite pizza places are the ones where you get to the edge, like the crust that you hold, and it's like that's the highlight. And I would say that's the highlight at Tiny's. Where'd you come up with that idea?
So I've always been a fan of the crust, but I always felt like, you didn't get the same experience when you're eating the pizza on the tip of the pizza where you get the sauce, the cheese. So there was like another element that you can add to the pizza. And funny enough, one of my favorite pizza places when I was growing up was Valentino's, and they had a pizza that they did like a breadstick crust, and they did the garlic and the Parmesan.
Oh my gosh, I hadn't thought about that in like 15 years.
Yeah, so that was one of my favorite spots, and that's kind of where they originated from, was just like remembering biting into that crust and having it taste like it was just as good as the rest of the pizza. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't something that you could throw away. And we've had multiple people tell us, like, I'm not a crust person, but when they eat it, they eat the whole crust. So it's nice to hear.
How important are food memories like that to you? Something where you're eating something and it just like takes you back to another experience, both just in your eating and informing your cooking.
I think it's one of the main reasons why I like to cook, is the reason for memories. Cooking and eating around the table with your friends, your family, it creates memories. So whenever I can, it's the age-old Ratatouille movie-esque, when you take a bite and it takes you back to that moment in time. I think that food should be like that. You have the new experiences, but also I love bringing people back to that moment in time where they remember eating it for the first time or remember eating it last, and it was so amazing. So creating those memories have always been an esque around what I wanted to do with my career. When I started in culinary, and way before when I knew I wanted to be a chef or be a cook or anything in this industry, was, thinking back with my mom and like waking up in the middle of the night and she's in the kitchen cooking just something, a snack for herself, and having those moments with her and thinking to myself like, oh, I want to do that. I want to be able to open the fridge and make anything. Because, as kids, you open the fridge and you're like, there's nothing in here. And then your mom or your dad can whip something up, and it's so amazing. So it kind of brings me back to that moment too in life, of just like, I want to be able to create that with somebody and create that for somebody, that experience that they can have.
Is that what got you into cooking originally, seeing your mom?
Yeah. So my mom, when I was younger, it was, she could always make anything out of anything. It was insane to see her in the kitchen, and you would see like a raw chicken breast as a kid. You're like, ew, that looks gross. But then an hour later, it's on the table and it's the most amazing thing you've ever eaten. And so by the time I was 5, I was saying I wanted to be a chef, or I wanted to be a cook, and I wanted to be just like my mom. And so it was just, it's always been kind of ingrained in me, seeing that and seeing what she could do with people too. We always had cookouts. We always had barbecues. We always went to camping and had fun with friends and family around the campfire making food. And so it's always been an experience in my life of, bringing people together. And my mom was like the center of that when I was a kid, for sure.
I love that you keep saying that, in that your inspiration behind cooking is bringing people together. Not that there's anything wrong with some goober like me who wants to come into the Inner Rail and have pizza by himself for lunch, but like there is that communal aspect about food where everyone eats. So it's just natural to gather around the table. If you're gonna have a birthday party in the park or something, yeah, let's have a cookout. Let's get some burgers and brats going. You know, if we're camping, let's make s'more. Like, food is just such a way of bringing people together, and I love that that's kind of your inspiration. It's not just, I just want to, you know, make someone happy, which I'm sure you do, but I want to bring people together and let them share an experience.
Yeah.
And I think, not that there's anything against restaurants that don't have open kitchens, but I think we're starting to see that more and more. What does it do for you when you're in the inner rail and you can look out and you can see people getting a whole pizza and taking it to their table and gathering together? Like, what does that do for you? Because I know that this is a hard industry.
Oh, yeah.
Are those the moments that, like, keep you going?
1,000%. That is the best experience in my head. That's the best thing to be able to see is something that I made with my hands. It's kind of like anybody that works with their hands or hands-on, seeing that product go to the other person or the customer or the consumer and seeing their face light up and seeing them use it and seeing them eat it and seeing that experience. I think all chefs kind of, it's hard for us to get that appreciation. It's not appreciation from the customer, but in our own work, the appreciation to be able to see somebody smile because it tastes good, or see something or they remembered something from their past or something like that. It's hard for us to get that gratification from that, and being able to see that in the inner rail. And like you said, like nowadays they're starting to get that more open kitchen, and customers are even being able to see what it takes to make their food. You know what I mean? So there's kind of a push and a pull in a way. Like they get to see what we go through to create it, and then we also get to see them enjoy it. So it's kind of best of both worlds. You know, it is a hard industry, and I feel sometimes it's hard, especially being in the back. I've been in multiple kitchens where it's just us in the back. There's no windows, there's nothing, and it's kind of dull sometimes. But being able to, I used to walk out at Al Karan all the time and serve plates, and that was one of my favorite experiences at Al Karan, was just being able to walk out and hand somebody their plate, explain to them what they have on their plate, and then see their face when they eat it, or hear their review, or, you know. So that's why reviews and different things like that, social media has really brought in a light to see what experiences we can bring to people as well.
I love that.
It's amazing.
We're going to get more into your background and the why behind you cook, but I got to highlight your food a little bit more. Pasta.
Yeah.
So it would, like, to be clear, the Inner Rail is an awesome place, but those bays are not massive, and especially when you've got a big old pizza oven in there, and you've got the slice counter. Bottom line, you don't have a lot of space. No one would have faulted you at all for stopping at pizza, and yet you also offer, for dinner at least, handmade pasta.
Yeah.
Now I know that you worked the pasta station at Al Karan, so you're familiar with that. But still, what was the inspiration, or maybe what was the craziness behind adding pasta to the menu as well as pizza?
So in my opinion, I felt that we could offer something else, and I didn't want to go to the fried route and do, anything fried, because I feel like a lot of the places around town, not a lot of the places around town, but more of like your Pizza Huts and things like that, they do a lot of fried options and different things like that. And I kind of wanted to bring an aspect of where I've been at around town and the things that I have done in the different restaurants that I've worked, is bringing that pasta. And there's nothing better than handmade pasta. You can't beat it anywhere else. Like, handmade pasta, it's made with love, it's made with care. It's a beautiful product, and why not showcase it? It is a bit crazy to do it in the food hall for sure. It's a lot of work, but to have somebody experience, where a lot of people may not experience fresh made pasta, or they don't experience what it tastes like, or anything like that. So bringing that to someone for the very first time also is amazing experience as well. Just being able to give somebody a first, or at a low point that a lot of places charge a lot of money for handmade pasta, because it is a lot of labor and it's a lot of craziness. But to be able to offer something at a pretty low point for what it is amazing for me. I think personally is they get to experience it as well. What
has it been like for you as a teacher and a mentor? Because you're talking about two foods that you're offering that are very finicky. Like when we're talking about dough, I mean, you said it's really difficult to figure out. And if you mess up your levels a little bit, or if you leave it in the oven a little too long, put it in the wrong spot in the oven, it can really affect the product. Same with handmade pasta. It can come out too tough if it's not mixed properly, if you get the ratios wrong, whatever it might be. These are two things that I would imagine are relatively difficult to teach. What has that been like for you as a mentor, kind of learning how to bring other people alongside you and say, yeah, I know how to hand make pasta, but now I have to teach others to do it as well.
And so to me, it's really fun. It is, it's hard at times because I want to, it's supposed to be done this way or this way. And so I kind of want to, my intuition is take over, and I have to kind of step back and be able to give that experience to someone else. And teaching people is one of my favorite things to do too. I never thought in my whole entire life that I'd be teaching anybody anything. And to be able to see somebody go from not ever messing with doughs or pasta or anything like that to being able to make it every single day and be a prime point of our team is amazing. Like, I can't ask anything else of anybody else. Like, for you to do that is beyond me. Like, for you to sit down and help and learn this process that is finicky and it is hard, and you do it, it's amazing. I'll never knock anybody that does this, messes with any kind of dough, bakers, pasta makers, pizza makers, any dough, any kind of dough. It's a time-consuming and strenuous thing, and it's beautiful to see other people be a part of it as well.
So what got you, I mean, you kind of mentioned you were drawn to cooking at a young age. Was there something about the process of dough that attracted you?
It beat me up, and I don't like getting beat up as anyone else.
So it's a challenge.
Yeah, so it's always been a challenge for me, and because baking has always been a challenge for me. Cooking is kind of, I feel, or I guess savory cooking, things like that you're more on the line and you're working with fire, and that was always the fun part. You kind of got burned, you got this, you got that, you cut yourself
and getting cut. That's the fun part.
Exactly. And so it was a little bit more like, it was kind of like Zen. It's like you have to sit down. The fires and everything's fast paced. It's move. And pasta and dough and different things, you have to kind of sit down and let it do its thing and be meticulous about what ingredients you're using and what the measurements are and things like that. So you can't mess up. If you mess up, something goes wrong, right? Even the slightest. You add a gram or two more of salt or a gram or two more yeast, and it's a completely different product. So being able to sit down and focus, it's almost like going into that monk-like state and being able to kind of zone in and take control of something that is very finicky and very out of control at sometimes,
Okay, but before we dive fully in your background, I want to roll out the red carpet for you. If somebody's listening to this and you want to sell them right now they're like teetering on the edge, like, I think I want to check out this Tiny's place, and you want to push them over the edge and say, I need to go. Highlight one or two menu items that you're just like, I love these. These I feel so confident in.
I would say the hot grill, you cannot go wrong. It balances the sweet and the spicy. We use, like I said, local honey on the pizza. We use the cup and char pepperonis, some fresh chili flakes, and a beautiful dough. You can't go wrong with that. The sauce, the cheese, it's amazing. It's one of the best pizzas that I've had, and it was kind of a play on a place out in New York called Scar's Pizza that does it's called a hot boy, actually, and that was kind of where that inspiration of hot girl came from, was that they use jalapenos and pepperoni as well on their pizza with a hint of sweetness, and I think it's one of the best combinations I've had on pizza. So that one, and then also the bolognese. I would say the pasta bolognese. You can't go wrong. It's a classic pasta dish. It's very, very simple, easy basil, meat, tomato sauce, and a beautiful noodle to go along with it. So you can't go wrong with those two items at all.
Okay. So you mentioned from basically like age 5, you knew, I want to cook, I want to be a chef. Somehow I want to be involved in cooking.
Exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your first job, if my research is right, was at Amigos.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So probably not what you were dreaming of as a kid. And I imagine, like, a lot of people would, they have this dream, this ambition of cooking, and then they go into a fast food restaurant like that, and it's a lot of prepackaged stuff, it's a lot of frozen stuff, a lot of fried stuff, fast pace, people who are really burnt out, and that might push them away from the restaurant industry and be like, this is not what I thought it was going to be. That was not the case for you. You charged forward more. What was it about that experience that pushed you further into the culinary career?
So Amigos was pretty cool, actually. They did kind of make a lot of things from scratch, and they
kudos to Amigos.
Yeah, Amigos does their thing out there. And when I was younger, it was kind of just like getting into the workforce for the first time, and I've always been work driven. And so it was hard. It was a lot different than what I've thought of. But again, I was young and I didn't see what other food there was out there in the world, other than my mom cooking, So it was a great experience to have. I knew right away that wasn't the thing that I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And so Amigos was just a great experience to jump in for sure. And then it kind of went on from there, seeing the team work together when it does get busy and it does get slammed, and seeing the jokes and the family aspect of the kitchen made me want to stay even more. Seeing that, it felt like I was in my kitchen and my parents are joking around, my brothers are messing around and things like that. And when it's time to go, it's time to go. And so it was just an awesome experience overall.
Speaking of that team camaraderie, your nickname, Tiny.
Yes.
Clearly, anyone who's watching right now knows tiny is not an adjective that many people would use to describe you. And if anyone's listening, Sam's a big dude. You just tall and just well built. How'd you get the nickname Tiny?
So it was actually at Au Courant. Chef Ben Maids, one of the first couple of months that I was there, if you don't know, Au Courant's a very tiny, smaller restaurant, and their kitchen is not short of that either. And so back in that kitchen, it was some would say it's hard to maneuver in that kitchen, especially being in the fast pace. Yeah. And so being as big as I am, being able to maneuver around and kind of, do what it takes to be in that restaurant, he kind of was like, you're he was like, you're big, but you're tiny. And then from ever since then, he that's been my nickname, is Tiny. So I commend Chef Ben Maids for that name.
You're nimble. Sure. You got maneuverability.
Yeah. I can fit in some tight spaces. You can fit me into a small kitchen and I can make it work.
That's an important skill to have. So one of your former colleagues, I reached out to them and was just asking them a little bit about your career. And I think they said that your high school actually had a really strong culinary program. Is that true? And yeah. What did you learn there that kind of helped push you forward as well?
So when I was my senior year, I actually moved around schools, went down to Arizona, and then kind of ultimately ended up in Kansas City at Shawnee Mission South. And they had an amazing culinary program that it was kind of weird experience to say the least. It was I would get out of class at around 12 o'clock, get on a bus, drive to a preschool or an elementary school, check in with some kids from elementary, being as big as I am, walking around with the kids of an elementary school and putting my bags in a locker room. And then it was weird because you would just walk, it would look like a normal school. You would walk behind a door and there was a full-blown 5-star restaurant sitting right in the middle of it called the Broadmoor Bistro. And now, since then, they've made their own. They have their own building and stuff like that. But back then, it was in the middle of a little elementary school, and it was insane. We had two chefs, a sous chef and an executive chef. They both had a lot of knowledge and experience, and they were teaching kids to the highest degree. We participated in Skills USA, and a lot of the kids that went to that school went on to do some amazing things and won Teen Chef of the Year in New York, across the U.S., and a bunch of other programs in there as well. But it was just kind of intense. It was like culinary school, but for a high schooler. And it was a 2-year program. It was insane. It was one of the craziest things I've been a part of, but also one of the coolest things I've been a part of as well.
Can you look back and think about lessons that you learned, during that time that like still stuck with you and helped define you as a chef today?
I would say one of the biggest is putting your head down and just working. There was a lot of times where there was things that I didn't know, especially coming in. Like I said, it was a 2-year program, and coming into the last 4 months of my high school career, I was kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, especially learning curve wise. And they threw me in there, and it was just putting my head down, learning from the chefs beside me, being able to humble and be a part of the team that I was a part of, and being able to learn from kids my age or even younger than me that were doing greater things than I was even capable of at that moment to do. It was a very cool experience to be able to just, work alongside of them. And so it was putting my head down and working and kind of just learning, soaking it all up, and making it a point to learn everything I could.
Now, you went to culinary school after that, and then how did you get to Omaha?
So in Kansas, I ended up going to Iowa Western for my culinary program. And then I jumped in and I got a job at Jackson Street Tavern downtown. And so that was one of my first gigs here in Omaha. And after that, it kind of blew up. I went all around town. The next one I believe was Via Farina, and then Sternella, and kind of just worked my way up through a bunch of yeah. R.I.P. for sure. But yeah, so I kind of just like worked around, and I kind of just wanted to get my hands dirty. A lot of it was just wanting to learn, like going from Via Farina to Sternella and Acaron, because those 3 jobs kind of I worked at the same time. And I remember talking with Chef John Ray about it one day, and I was just like, hey, is there anybody in town that you know? Because I didn't know anybody from Omaha. I didn't know about the food scene. That was my first experience of like fine dining was Via Farina. And so he got me in touch with Ben, went over there in stage, and then kind of like the rest is history. It was just, I loved the scene. I loved it. I wanted to learn more and more and more and just soak it up. So it was pretty crazy for the first couple of years being here.
What do you remember about that stage?
That stage, I walk in the door. It was I will remember this for the rest of my life. I walk in the door, and preference, I was talking to John Ray. He told me to get into contact with Ben Maids, and he was like, he's hard. He's a hard chef. Like, it's not going to be easy for you to get in here. And I walk into the door of Acaron, or the back door of Acaron, and the first thing he says, and he's like, are you sure you want to do this? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And then he threw me on the line, and we got through the service. And as I was leaving, he was like, all right, if you still want to do this, you have an opportunity. You can come back in a week, and we'll get you set up and schedule wise. And it was just that experience of being able to know I can hang with some people. And I wasn't, by any means, I was not great at all, but hearing someone or people around town saying this guy was the hardest chef to work with in Omaha, and then working with him and kind of finding my place was amazing.
It was validating.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I could run with him, at least. Limp with him for the first part.
That's good. So the places that you've talked about, I mean, you've got Jackson Street Tavern, which is kind of, bar food. You've got Via Farina, which is pizza, pasta, Italian. Sternella's kind of new American. They had pasta as well, but lots of different dishes. Acaron, fine dining, tasting menus, everything. You've got a wide variety of different service styles, of different cuisines, of different dishes that you're putting together with these experiences. And I think, you kind of mentioned that John challenged you. Was that intentional on your part to kind of ping around and try a bunch of different things and really broaden your skill set, or did it kind of just happen that way?
So in the beginning, it kind of like at JST, that wasn't my mindset at first. But then when I went to Via Farina, that was a very challenging restaurant as well, because they did handmade pasta. They did dough as well. They did very cool things with the pasta, and I just loved the environment and of how everything was go, go, go. And I was able to learn so much so quickly. And so right after the Via Farina stint, it was kind of just like that was the goal after that. It was to ping around and kind of to find a place that I can learn the most at, and that's when I landed at Acaron. When I walked in the doors of Acaron and seen how that kitchen was ran by Chef Ben Maids, it was insane to me. It blew my mind. It felt like I was on Iron Chef or watching it from a screen. It was just how intense and how meticulous they were about their plating and their food and what they're adding. It was a really cool experience seeing that, and that's kind of why pinging around was seeing every little restaurant and seeing what they did and what they did differently and things like that. It was really cool to see all of that. So I would say after Via Farina, it was definitely to go learn after that.
Now, there are some cooks and some chefs who will stay at the same restaurant for 30, 40 years. I mean, sometimes, if you're in the family business, it's just like your entire life. That's just the place. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You can become an expert, in that specific cuisine, or you can take the route that you do, where you can learn a bunch of different stuff and then kind of absorb all of it. What would be your advice to a young chef if somebody came to you and they were like, hey, should I just really dive in and get into pizza and just master my pizza craft, or should I diversify my skill set a little bit and see what else is out there?
I would say it's kind of it depends on the person, because you'll find a spot where you really do like it and you enjoy it a lot. And there's a lot to learn in that place as well. So like Au Courant was probably my longest stint in a restaurant, and there was just so much to learn. It was, and I still did not learn everything I could have learned from Au Courant, but there was just so much to learn. And I didn't really need to dive in too much after that because there was so much learning there. And there was so much stuff that you could figure out, and there was new things coming in every week. But I would definitely say my opinion is go try some places, go figure out what you want and what most excites you about food in the industry, because there's a lot of different avenues, too many to even pinpoint. There's so many avenues you could take. And so to be able to at least even get in a few restaurants and kind of go see the world too and it was pretty cool. Like being in Omaha, you have your fast food restaurants, you have your kind of classier restaurants, your middle of the road restaurants, but then you also have these restaurants that are getting nominated by the James Beard Awards. So it's kind of a crazy mix of restaurants, and I feel like Omaha really treated me well with being able to kind of experience every avenue I could within even just those three lanes of the culinary industry. So I would say go try a lot of restaurants and see what you like, and then dive into what you feel will challenge you the most, because that will make you the better cook and better chef that you could be.
And when you were working at Au Courant, you actually started your own pop-up, and it was called the Tiny Project. You did at least 3 or 4 pop-ups. I believe the last one was in 2022. So, obviously it didn't evolve into a restaurant. You've got an entirely different concept now. But looking back at that pop-up, first of all, what inspired you to do it? And more importantly, what did that experience teach you? What did you learn from it?
So I would say the pop-ups, it was a great experience. I gotta cook a lot of great food with a lot of cool friends of mine. Chovy Caniglia, or Anthony Caniglia of Au Courant. Me and him were great buddies, and we kind of just liked experimenting with fun food. And so a lot of the pop-ups were just like seeing if things would work and seeing if people would like them and enjoy them. And so, doing a lot of the different pop-ups were just kind of experimental, and it was fun it was like almost like working in a different restaurant at all times. So it was that experience of having the different cuisines and being able to come up with ideas with a great friend of mine and have fun with the culinary scene around Omaha. There's so many people that are encouraging of that as well here in Omaha. So I would say that was the best experience about that. And what I learned was that you can kind of do whatever you want, and people, as long as you're doing it to the highest quality and the best that you can do, people will enjoy it for sure.
So in preparation for this, I reached out to one of your former employers and asked him, hey, what do I need to ask Tiny coming into this?
Oh, no.
And he said, ask him about the vacation station. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what the vacation station is, but I just want to open it up. What's a vacation station, and why am I asking you about it?
So he referred to, I believe you're talking about the Au Courant, and
Yes.
He referred to the pasta station as the vacation station, because that was the only thing we did necessarily. We had the pastas, and that was all we had to worry about, when a lot of the other menu items were different dishes and a lot more presentation on other plates and stuff like that. And so he always referred to the pasta station. Honestly, wherever I worked, he referred to as the vacation station because he thought it was I was having a vacation on my stations. I was very laughy, jokey. It seemed like I was on a vacation. So I love him for that. He always drove me too to make it. I was fighting against the vacation station. I was like, I'm doing it. I'm putting in work. I'm here. And he would always tell me it's the vacation station. So no, that's love. I love that.
That's good. So you've talked about the influence that these other restaurants had on you once you learned there. How did the opportunity to open your own place eventually arise? So
working with Sam Laughlin, and the Noddle hospitality team, they brought me in from the last place that I was out at Lost Rail Golf. I helped open up that golf course and their food program over there, and kind of managed it and did my thing over there. And then they kind of reached out to me, and we did a lot of kind of talking back and forth. We did a couple pop-ups for some events that they were having, and ultimately they encouraged me to join the team, and it kind of just developed. You know, it was something that we thought that would be a great fit for the food rail and the inner rail, and it kind of just evolved into becoming a great thing in the food rail. So it's not my own little doing, but a team of people helped me with that for sure. I know that there have been a couple other pizza places in the inner rail. Did they specifically come to you and say, hey, we're looking for pizza? Or did they just say, you know, we know that you're talented, we would love to have your influence here? And you were like, pizza. Which route was it? So it was they kind of reached out to me and kind of recognized some talent. And so they brought me on for that exact reason, to kind of revamp some things and see what we can do and what we can play with in the inner rail. So it was always just a kind of a whim. It wasn't just pizza. It was just something that I thought that would work really well in there as well. So tell me more about that, because, you know, I know you said earlier, you know, pizza is a love for you, and you've developed this affinity for dough and for making pasta, for making pizza. But you have all these different experiences. Like, you've dealt with so many different types of cuisine, and you're basically gifted this space in the NRL where it's like, here you go, man. This is a ball of clay. You can mold it into whatever you want to. Why was pizza the route that you chose? I felt like it was that was the one thing that, you know, like you said, there was a bunch of pizza places that were in there before. And I think just coming up with the idea of slices, because it's a very fast-paced environment, especially, you know, with the office buildings up front. They're coming down just a 30-minute break to get lunch. And so I felt like delivering a beautiful slice of pizza at a fast pace and quality. I think that was my mindset at that time, was just kind of I think the inner rail is missing pizza if we don't do pizza. So it was just kind of like the niche. I think pizza needed to be there. I think it just needed a little bit more refining to the space and the environment that it's in. What was that refining? Was bringing the slices to it as well. You know what I mean? To bringing the fast-paced experience to pizza, because a lot of it, you know, pizza normally, if you know, go anywhere, is not that quick, especially Neapolitan or something like that it's more of a craft and it's more of a personal-sized pizza. But to be able to give somebody a slice that they can take for lunch and just, you know, it's a quick bite to eat, and it's not too heavy and it's not too filling to where you can go back to work and not feel like you're going to fall asleep, was one of the ideas in my head. I know you spent over a year developing this concept, working on the recipes, getting everything ready to go before you finally opened in April of 2024. What was that year like? Like, what are you? A year's a long time, and I know, you know, you wanted to set this place up for success. You weren't going to half-ass it and say, okay, let's open in 3 months. What are you doing over the course of that year to set yourself up? So initially, the whole concept wasn't developed in a year. It was more of like the dough, or the starter and the sourdough version. I was kind of tinkering with these things and playing with them before this concept came to light. But I would say about 5 months before the concept opened is when we really decided to like go with what we wanted to with the pizza and things like that. And so that 5 months specifically was a lot. It was a lot of research. It was a lot of delving in, talking with Dave Lasole and having those experiences to see exactly where we fit and what we fit into the game of pizza and the industry of pizza. So it was kind of a lot of just research, tinkering, trying and error,
trial and error.
And so it was just an experience. It's kind of a journey. I was along for the ride. It was telling me where to go, honestly. And so that's where I would say is like the best work was done was in that 5 months to get it to where it was, especially out of the gate.
What I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. Like, you're talking about so much trial and error, so much experimentation. Figuring out dough is hard. What was it like for you when you got it? When that light bulb just went on and you were like, yes, this is the Tiny's pizza. This is it. I've created it. I've not perfected it because you can always make adjustments and everything, but like, I think I've found the product that I want to serve. What was that moment like for you?
I was like a mini Super Bowl in my head, honestly. It was a lot of jumping and smiling and knowing that I got it and wanting to share it with a lot of people, like knowing that it was the first time that it was I want to share this with someone. Like there was a lot of times where we would try it and be like, oh, there's more to do. There's more to do. There's more to do. And then for that first time of being able to know I have it, is I want to share this. I want to give it to someone. I want everyone to try it and see what their opinions are on it and what we can make better. And so when that kind of finally, like, that light bulb went off, it was a surreal moment, and it was like an amazing, like, it was fun. It was something I knew I got it. It felt good. It felt right. And it was kind of like almost like a let's go, but we still have a lot of work to do kind of thing. So it was an amazing experience to kind of finally get it locked in and have the first slice of cheese pizza that we were okay with. So that was nice.
Now, pizzas are kind of a blank canvas. I mean, you see places that go super minimal and, just do cheese and margarita. You see places that absolutely load on all kinds of toppings. I mean, a pizza can have 7 or 8 different toppings. You see places that are doing cheeseburger pizzas and taco pizzas and just abominations, honestly, like just ridiculous things on top of a pizza. You offer, like, to be clear, someone can come in and they can create their own pizza. They can add different toppings if they want to, but you have 6 signature pizzas on your menu. And looking at them, they're all relatively simple. They've all got 4 or 5, maybe 6 ingredients, but you're not loading a bunch of stuff on. As you're crafting your menu and deciding these are the pizzas that I want people to order, how did you decide on those?
So I wanted to keep it simple. That was my main goal with the concept as well, was keeping it simple and very quality ingredients. So like a lot of the pizzas, like there's some of them are really fun, but like you said, besides the cheese, the meat, or the cheese, the sauce, and the dough, they got 1 or 2 ingredients on it, but they're really quality ingredients. And so keeping it simple and clean and fresh was my main point. And so I feel like we kind of really we delved into that and made it a possibility too, to make a really quality ingredient pizza, but very simple as well. And I think that was the main goal of the whole concept too, was just keeping it simple, keeping it clean and fresh and timeless. Like it's an amazing pizza just by itself. It will always be just a simple, clean pizza. It's a go-to, and that's kind of the thought process behind that as well. And just making it easy.
Opening day was April 5th, 2024. Tell me, first thoughts, first memories that come into the front of your mind. What do you remember about that day?
Lots of pizza. There was a lot of pizza. We ended up giving away 300 pizzas that day, and by the slice and by the whole pie. It was an amazing day to see people enjoy the pizza for the first time and actually see genuine smiles on their face and how good it was. And that was probably the thing I took away from the most, of like, we got something here with the way that people reacted to the pizza, the customer service, and just the whole kind of atmosphere in the food hall that day was just amazing. It was inviting to know that like the scene is enjoying this, and there's still a lot to go. You know, there's a lot to refine. There's a lot to kind of streamline and things like that to make it great every single time and get the consistency down right. But just the overwhelming enjoyance of what they got going on, and that was nice. That was amazing.
How did being in the inner rail set you up for success? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things for a new restaurant or really any new business to do is get their name out there, especially when you're a pizza place. And I mean, there's probably 60, 70 pizza places in Omaha. So to say, hey, I'm opening a pizza place, like, even if you have a lot of friends in the industry, sometimes that can almost feel like you're just yelling into the forest. Yeah. But when you're in the inner rail and you've got all the other concepts, like, you're going to naturally have foot traffic and people are going to be in there, and then they're going to be like, oh, wait, what's that? Is that a new pizza place? Maybe I'll give that a shot. How important was it, do you think, for your concept to be a part of the inner rail and have that natural traffic? Oh,
I think it was the most important. Like you said, you can have the best food or quality or best product that you can produce, but if you don't have the foot traffic and nobody knows you're there, it's kind of hard to get off the ground for sure. And I think the inner rail does a perfect job of doing that, especially of bringing new clients in. It's like, or new stalls and new concepts in, is being able to have that constant foot traffic. And then it's kind of scary to be able to get up there with some of the people that are, or some of the concepts that are in there that have been there for years. And so the foot traffic is amazing. Like that was one of the biggest things that I would say that helped us along the way too, was just people being able to see eyes on what we have going on and being willing to be able to try it out, or being willing to try it out. So I think that was one of the most important things for sure.
I feel kind of ridiculous asking this because we're recording this at the end of June. I mean, your concept has been open for less than 3 months as of recording. When this is released, it'll be a little over 3 months, but still, incredibly young concept. And I know you've got your head down. You're just trying to put out a great product and crush as is. But I'm also sure that I shouldn't say I'm sure. I'll ask. Have you allowed yourself to look forward? Like, have you thought about what the future of Tiny's is, what the future of your career is? Like, what do you see for this concept moving forward in the future?
For the concept, I would love to see it in multiple different locations and try to see if we can get it to more people for sure. But I think of right now, and especially in the near future, is kind of putting my head down and really, really perfecting what I have going on right now, and getting to the best that we can get, consistency-wise, quality-wise. I think that there's a lot of work to still be done. Again, only being open a few months, I feel like we're getting there, slowly but surely. And I think that's a lot of restaurants, is there's a lot of time, and you will forever be looking for excellence and perfection. And just kind of putting my head down and getting closer to that the closest I can get to that, for sure. So right now, I'm letting it soak in and kind of doing what I can do to make it better, for sure.
I love that. All right. I got 2 more questions for you that I like to ask just about everybody that comes on the podcast. First one is this. What is one thing about cooking, hospitality industry, restaurant industry, whatever direction you want to take it, that you think diners don't understand that you wish they did understand?
Ooh. What it takes to bring the product. I feel like we've talked about and we touched on earlier in the show, seeing what all actually goes into creating the final product that you see on the plate, the long hours and the different difficulties that we go through, even throughout the night of a shift or a given day. There's a lot that goes into making that final one dish that you get to try. And if it makes it to your plate and you think it's something that you would enjoy and you do enjoy it, I would hope that the diners would see what it takes to bring that, and also to kind of reciprocate. If it's a good product, take the time out to thank the person that is making that food for you, because again, like you said, I'm looking to make you feel good about something that you're eating and something that I created that you're going to eat. I think it's a very intimate process. You know, you're putting something into your body that I created, and if you enjoyed it, I feel like a lot of chefs would love to hear that, you know. Good, bad, the ugly. I think that they would like to hear it and understand what they can do better, what they're doing great, you know. I think the feedback on a diner and the experiences of what it takes to bring that to the diner is something that I wish more diners would understand of what it actually takes to get that product to you.
I will never forget. David Lasoy invited me to work one shift in his kitchen, and it was a morning shift for just like a couple hours, just prepping for a lunch service. And he had me on meatball duty, and it was so much work mixing those meatballs, cooking the meatballs, slicing the meatballs for pizza. And I mean, after I'd spent all this time doing it, I was just like, this is just one topping and one menu offering. And he's got all these different things. Like, not everything is as labor intense as, you know, making handmade meatballs, but it was just like, holy cow. It's like so much work goes into such a simple thing that most people wouldn't even think about. They're just like, oh, a meatball. Great.
For sure.
So I think, yeah, just having that awareness that, you know, you're hand stretching every dough. Yeah. You're watching it in the oven. You're talking to the farmers and trying to figure out what honey is going to go best with this pepperoni. Like, it matters.
Yeah, exactly. It all matters. Everything that you put into it, the time that you put into it matters because, again, like I said, it's an intimate process. You know, that is one of the most, it's like you know, drinking water. You're not just going to go drink a muddy pool of water, right? You want something that's quality, clean, and fresh. So it's the same with food. You want something that's quality, clean, and fresh that you're going to consume. And so, you know, we take as chefs and cooks that we take as a big point of what we do. You know, we want to make sure that we're giving you the best of the best that we can do possibly. You know, so yeah, I think it's a big importance in the food industry for sure.
Last question I got for you. I think I know the answer to it because you've referenced it several times during the podcast, but I think it's a great way to wrap things up. What's your favorite thing about being a part of this industry and about cooking professionally?
Yeah, for sure. Bringing people together.
Yep, I knew it.
Bringing people together, seeing the smiles, seeing the memories being made. The whole experience is just amazing, you know, from start to finish, from gathering as friends and family and being able to experience something that is so intimate and is so inviting too. I think that that's the best experience that you could ever have, and being a part of that experience is amazing to me, for sure.
Well, you are creating those memories over at Tiny's now. I am a huge fan of this place. Like, there's so many places that you can go get pizza in Omaha, but Tiny's is one that's worth seeking out. Whether you just end up at the Inner Rail because you're with a group of friends or you're with family and that's where you are, or you're intentionally seeking it out, people, go check this pizza out. Like, it is legit New York style pizza. It's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. And I'm a huge fan of you and the work that you've done throughout your career. Like I mentioned, you know, I've eaten your food at several different places, and the way that you are able to, you know, be so malleable and do different cuisines, do different styles of food is really, really cool. Sam, Tiny, thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast today. I really appreciate you, my friend.
And I appreciate you. Thank you again for having me on here. And again, I appreciate you as a person too, going around Omaha and showing people what Omaha is about when it comes to the food industry, for sure. I appreciate that.
There's a lot of good out there. You got to share it.
There is. Thank you.
Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.